Hey guys, it's Kel Vandor. Welcome back to the workbench. I wanted to throw another video up real quick on cutting patterns and where to take your measurements from and on what side of the leather to cut them from and why. I've run into this problem on a couple of occasions where if I'm using a pattern that has to go around something, specifically my head, I've run into this with hat patterns, with glove patterns, and other such patterns where you take a measurement of something and then you cut the pattern, and when you cut your leather pieces you discover that your pieces are too small. And my recommendation is cut them at the flesh side of the leather, mostly no matter what leather you're using. And I'm going to show you here real quick. This is my just one of my little bench anvils that I use for things, and I'm going to take a measurement of this all the way around, and it comes to 11 and a quarter. Almost exactly 11 and a quarter. So if my pattern says then that I need to be at 11 and a quarter, and I cut this exactly on 11 and a quarter, I'm on the top grain side of this right now. So I've got my tape exactly at 11 and a quarter, and I cut that right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece, and now I'm on the flesh side, and I'm going to make them be exactly the same. So you would think, okay, so they're exactly the same. And you would think that it wouldn't make a difference. If they're exactly the same, they're both going to go around it just fine. But here's what happens. If I take the piece where I measured up on the top grain side and I try to go around this piece, you'll notice I'm too short. It won't go around. Even though I cut it to length, it won't go all the way around the piece. Now, if I did this right, if I take this piece where I measured it on the flesh side and I try to put it around, haha, I did it wrong. It's actually too short as well. Oh, nope, there it goes. Had a bubble in it. It meets. And I'm able to go ahead and stitch around that if I wanted to use that as a pattern. And you end up with this because the leather thickness has to be taken into account. Geometry just states that if I measured on this side, it actually has to go around further because of how thick the leather is. Now in some cases you might be able to stretch the leather a little bit in order to make it fit, but that's kind of a gap. And if I was to cut that to a length thinking that I had it and I stitched that, well, now it's too small and it ain't going to go on there. And if you're doing this for something like a hat band or some other thing where you've got a measurement around something that's not going to move and you do it on the wrong side, then you're going to end up with a piece that's too small. Whereas if you do it on the flesh side, that is the piece that's actually going around, and that's the piece that will meet. So just a quick tip, if you're doing patterns and everything, be wary of which side you cut the leather on in order to make sure that everything's going to fit. Otherwise you're going to end up with a piece that's too small, and you'll probably have to recut it and just end up wasting material. Just a quick tip. Thanks guys.